Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This week's video, I want to do some detailed reviews of the things that I did on my most recent trip to Walt Disney World. We're going to talk about where I stayed, what I ate, the one new attraction that I experienced, and what I think overall about traveling to Walt Disney World when it's boiling hot, and I'm really glad that you're here. So if you've already watched the trip vlogs, my hope is that this video will add to that I'm not going to repeat myself a lot. And if you're someone who doesn't like vlog format and just wants the straight details, like where do I eat, where do I stay, what time of year do I go, I think you're going to really like this video. So it was a 4-night trip in July during a massive heat wave. I got there and I think it was a feel like of like 104, and it stayed that way the entire time I was there. We did have some nice evenings, and I'm going to get into the weather piece of things at the end, because I do feel like Walt Disney World, any time of year, the weather is kind of another character in the story, but especially in the summertime. So we started the trip at Animal Kingdom Lodge, Kidani Village, which I have stayed at many times over the years. It is one of my favorite resorts. And if you are looking for a place to feel like you are literally somewhere completely different, this resort does such a great job of truly transporting you. The cast members that are there, many of whom are from Africa, are knowledgeable and lovely. The music is so peaceful. It's just one of these places where you walk in, and even more so than Jambo House, which is its bigger sister property, you just kind of feel this hush, or at least I do. You feel a hush kind of come over yourself. I've noticed that kids tend to not like run around like they do in some of the other resorts. There's just a really good energy. And I believe that energy is probably generated by two things: the amazing cast members, and of course by the animals. I mean, how can you not have kind of shushed and quiet energy when you go out on the observation areas around and see the savannah and see the giraffes and the zebras, depending on where you're from, and the incredible animals all over the savannah. I did not realize how badly I needed that. Now keep in mind, I did not have a Savannah View room. I find that there are so many places that you can go and look at the animals that I don't actually need a Savannah View room, especially in the summer when you kind of want to go where it's a little bit more shaded and there's no guarantee that the view from your room is going to have that, because obviously the animals are sticking to the shade too, which the humans should also be doing. But I came into this trip right and proper at the edge of my rope. Due to my mom's dementia, I am the one primarily responsible for coordinating her care, and things are they're just going to be chaotic for however long that we have her. And I've accepted that, but I've also accepted that I need these times away, which I get that I'm so privileged that I get to do it. But it was very important that I go. And the first 2 days of the trip, I didn't do any, like I vlogged some footage, but I didn't talk to the camera at all. In fact, I hardly talked to anyone for the first 2 days. And I just needed to let my nervous system re-regulate. And there's no better place to do that, in my view, than anywhere with animals, and certainly Kidani Village. It was wonderful. The room refurbishments are fantastic. My first meal there, and I think I was going to divide it out, but I think I'll just talk about meals as they came in the timeline, because that will help me organize my thoughts better in my brain. I went into the bar at Sanaa and I sat down and I had the samosas and a glass of wine, chatted with a cast member a little bit. So I guess I did talk some. And it just, I can't explain it, but it started the trip out so perfectly. I felt calm. I felt immediately, I didn't check my blood pressure, but I felt my blood pressure went down, and it was just lovely. Now, one of the things that I love about that resort, and also about Wilderness Lodge, which was the second place that I stayed, is if you're going in the heat of summer, everything that you need to do as far as services are concerned is within the same building. So you're not leaving the building to get food. You're barely leaving the building to go to the bus stop. You're not leaving the building to get to the little gift shop or any of the restaurants. You do, of course, have to go outside to go to the pool, but that's true everywhere. But that's a big consideration when choosing a resort for the summer months. Because if you think of a resort like, Old Key West or Saratoga, if we're looking at Disney Vacation Club properties, which my family, we are Disney Vacation Club members, You really don't want to have to be walking in the heat just to get to the dining establishment. So Kidani is a great option for that. Also Jumbo House, and also the second place I stayed, Wilderness Lodge. But before I get into Wilderness Lodge, I do want to give a big shout out to the pool at Kidani Village. Because there are so many trees and you really do feel like you are in some kind of beautiful rainforest, it is so peaceful there. And they didn't have like the kids games and stuff going on while I was there. So they're still playing the same music that they play in the lobby. And it was just this, I don't even have words. And I know for a fact the resort was at capacity and the pool did not feel crowded at all. I had a really lovely lunch out there by the pool, and yeah, just cannot recommend that enough. I then moved over to Wilderness Lodge, and the way I did the day that I moved resorts, I spent a pool morning at Kidani, and then I packed my pool stuff thinking I would just transfer to Wilderness Lodge and hang out at that pool until my room was ready. But in fact, my room was ready at noon. So I was still at Animal Kingdom. I had checked out of my room, but I was still laying by the pool, having, I think I had a Diet Coke and eating my lunch. And I got the notification that my room was ready. Now, Disney will move your luggage for you. Because it was just me and I had done carry-on only, I decided to just get a minivan, which was a huge splurge, but I needed convenience. And they were able to take me with my luggage, so it was super easy. And I was able to check into my room right away. Now let's talk about Wilderness Lodge. This resort, y'all, of course I've been there many times. We visited the Christmas tree. We stayed one night 15 years ago before our first Disney cruise with my mom, and it was okay. I loved the resort, of course, but I didn't love the rooms. I felt like they were dark, they were pokey, they felt super small. This latest room refurbishment, no notes. The room felt bright and happy. The finishes were beautiful. I loved the flooring. I loved everything that they did. It just felt very bright and open, and I didn't get that cramped and small feeling like I had the first time that we stayed there. Also, the dining options there are amazing. You have Roaring Forks, which is their quick service restaurant. Then you have Whispering Canyon, which I unfortunately didn't get a chance to eat there, but I've heard great things. It's a little rowdy. You can tell just from being able to hear it because it's right off the lobby, but seems like a super fun place. And then you have Artist Point, which is a character dining experience with Snow White, Grumpy, Dopey, and the Evil Queen. Now, the resort itself, I could not have picked a better place for kind of a grown-up retreat trip. I could have not set foot in a park at all and been very happy just being there. Wilderness Lodge and really any of the Disney Deluxe resorts stand on their own merit as fantastic places to go, even if you never set foot in a theme park. If Wilderness Lodge existed on its own somewhere, I still think it would be a fantastic destination. And even though I was in the parks for a little bit of time, I could have just as happily not done so. And having just the boats and being on the water, and even on a really hot day, out on the water, you can get a really beautiful breeze. I was able to watch the electrical water pageant, which is such a throwback. My kids used to love that. I remember watching it when I was a kid. And the environment there is just so conducive to being chill. I spent a whole morning at the Boulder Ridge pool, which doesn't have a big water slide. It's more of a quiet pool. Disney doesn't do like adult pools, but most of the resorts will have a feature pool with all of the music and the big water slide and all the stuff, and then a smaller pool that's more quiet, no water slide, but they still did pipe in the music from the lobby at Wilderness Lodge. And let me tell you, this girl had so much fun. I just love swimming. I love floating. I love being in the water. And it was just one of those mornings that I won't soon forget and my soul really, really needed. The service at Wilderness Lodge, y'all, was over the top. Everyone was so ridiculously accommodating. And the first day, I did not get housekeeping service, and that was me because I was in and out of the room and I had kept the do not disturb sign on my door. The second day, I knew I at least needed fresh towels. I was like, it was okay if they don't clean, but I would like the room to be serviced. So I poked my head out in the hallway. I had my book. It was probably around 1 o'clock. And I had already had my pool morning and whatnot, and the manager happened to be on the floor for housekeeping, and she said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Well, I was thinking of going and reading my book, and I knew that they were on the floor." I said, "Do you have an estimate about when they might be able to service my room?" She's like, "I'll tell you what, I will call her right now. I know that your room is on the list to be almost next. Let me call her and let her know to do your room next. So if you can give her maybe 45 minutes, it should be all done." I was like, that's crazy. So that's exactly what I did. I took my book to it. Like, little things like that make me feel like old school Disney customer service that I feared we had kind of lost after COVID, perfectly understandably, but I feel like a few things didn't come back that could have. And one of them was that kind of over the top customer service. And it was just, it felt very magical. And I felt very well cared for, which, as a solo traveler who was in need of a break, to feel cared for when I was, they remembered me at the Territory Lounge. One night I got the popcorn flight with my little aperitif. And I said, "Is it ridiculous for me to get the whole popcorn flight?" She's like, "You can take it back to your room. It's not ridiculous at all." And everyone just made me feel very welcome. And at no point did I feel odd because I was a solo traveler at a Walt Disney World property. I don't really ever feel odd, but at Wilderness Lodge, it just felt like they went above and beyond. I did the hour-long tour with Jack, which is free and is offered many mornings at 9 a.m. Highly recommend. I learned so much about the theming of that resort, and I tell you, those were the years when Disney knew how to do a resort. The theming is so over the top and so well done and so well designed, and the artisans that they brought in from all over the United States to do everything from the totem poles. We learned about the Native American art, a lot of which are reproductions, because it would be very disrespectful to have the actual, ceremonial headdresses and things like that. We learned that what looked like eagle feathers are actually dyed turkey feathers, because for them to be eagle feathers would be illegal. And it's got such great theming and purpose and artistry, and it's what I needed. I also used this trip as a little bit of it was a corporate retreat for myself, where I did a lot of brainstorming about the future of my business, and being surrounded by all of that creativity. I cannot tell you, I journaled so many great ideas. I felt so affirmed in my own creativity, and it was just the perfect spot to do all of that. Shifting to dining that I did there at Wilderness Lodge, I already told you about the Territory Lounge. I did a cheese board there and the popcorn flight. No notes, highly recommend. Their drinks there are fabulous. They have several zero-proof cocktails in there that I highly recommend. And there's also an alcoholic offering called the Alchemy, which is kind of like a Moscow Mule with a lavender added to it. And Christy and I had it at Artist Point, and then they made it for me again at Territory Lounge. So good. And it's a nice, substantial drink, which is what you want in the summertime. Not to get yourself plastered, but it's just like a lot of liquid, because it's got ginger beer, and it's kind of like a big gin and tonic type situation, but so good and such a perfect summertime drink. Our meal at Artist Point was lovely. The character interactions were super fun, but if I'm being honest, I could have done that entire meal even without the character interactions. Christy, they handled her food allergy so well. All the offerings were good. I was torn between the vegetarian pasta and the salmon, and the server was like, "Oh, I will just give you both." And he actually put the salmon on the vegetarian pasta, which turned out to be a perfect dish. And it was that kind of very lovely 5 out of 5 service that I had come to expect at Disney, and I thought had sort of started to go away, but it still exists very much at the Wilderness Lodge, and that was absolutely lovely. I also ate a couple times at Roaring Forks. Nothing really monumental there, but good service, very clean, quick service restaurant. I had oatmeal and fruit, nothing exciting. And then one lunch, I had kids mac and cheese, which the kids mac and cheese at Disney World, if you're someone who doesn't eat a huge meal 3 times a day, don't sleep on the kids mac and cheese. It's so good, and it comes with a side, so I would usually get like apple slices or fruit, and it's a really good value for money and plenty of food for me, so that made me really, really happy. Other meals of note during my trip were the Hollywood Brown Derby, where I try to always eat. It did not disappoint yet again. I think this is another great location if you're a solo traveler. They really do a great job of not making you feel odd. And just the way the restaurant is set up, you don't feel like you're kind of, I don't know, it doesn't draw attention to the fact that you're a solo traveler. And the food was amazing. The grapefruit cake, which is maybe my favorite dessert that exists on the planet, was no notes. 10 out of 10, always a winner. It's not for everyone, but for me, the grapefruit cake is just stellar. It's one of it. Is it my favorite dessert in the entire world? Maybe. It's very, very good. And my meal there was fantastic. Other meals, I ate at Steakhouse 71 with my friend Liam. It was amazing. I always get the vegetarian Wellington, which if you're a vegetarian, I highly recommend. It was actually a dish that was the brainchild of the original chef of Steakhouse 71. I don't know if she is still there, but that is her recipe that she brought from another restaurant, and I get it every single time. I will make a reservation at that restaurant just to have the vegetarian Wellington, and it's very, very good. And then we got their big 7-layer chocolate cake, which how can you not? And I was with a great friend, so that was really fun. Other eating I did in the parks was all kind of very understated, not a big deal. But the big meals, the big sit-down meals that I had, I was over the moon happy with each and every one of them, and I just had a fantastic eating experience. I will say I definitely ate way less than is kind of normal for me when I'm there because I just didn't have as much of an appetite due to the stifling heat. So let's move into the theme parks a little bit. Don't really recommend them in the height of the summer. Even in the early morning, your temps may be lower, but you're dealing with super, super high humidity. If I go again in the summer, which I probably will, I may skip the theme parks altogether. The very minimal time I was in theme parks, I was at Hollywood Studios to ride Muppet Rock and Roller Coaster, which I'll talk about in just a second. I was at Epcot to do Guardians and eat at that's the meal that I'm missing. My wonderful tacos at San Angel or San Angel, depending on how you pronounce it. I love that restaurant. I've eaten at that restaurant now, I think, dozens of times. It's the one that overlooks the ride there in the Mexico Pavilion. 10 out of 10 service. The fish tacos are amazing. I always get the blood orange margarita. Very well suited for solo travelers. In fact, I was sat next to a man who was also a solo traveler and also an annual pass holder. It is a great restaurant. I have never had a bad experience there. It had a few years where it got poor reviews, but I've been eating there consistently now for probably 10 years. Well, and then they did a big refurbishment, and the interiors are a lot brighter now, even though it still has that feeling of it being nighttime. They've added individual lamps to the tables and some lanterns overhead, and it's just a great experience. I just absolutely love it there. So that was really, really good. Was that my only other? Yeah, that was my only other big sit down restaurant. But the theme parks are just boiling hot. And granted, it was even hotter than normal for summer while I was there. But even in the early morning when you're fighting with that humidity, I would much rather be at a resort kicking back by a swimming pool than fighting rope drop crowds. So I will definitely go again in the summer, but next time I go, I don't think I'll do any theme parks at all. I think I'll just stick to the resorts because the resorts are stellar in and of themselves, and you're not stuck out in the heat, and it's still a great escape. And if you're like me and you already live in a boiling hot place and you're looking for something pretty close to home, this was a no-brainer for me. And you always get discounts at Disney in the summer. Don't ever pay full price in the summer. Even they had, annual pass holder discounts, regular public discounts, all kinds of packages were offered. And it's just, the resorts themselves make it worth the heat, but I don't feel the need to be out in theme parks in the middle of the day in the summer ever again in my entire life. I will say, the Muppet overlay of Rock and Roller Coaster, love. I am a Muppet girl, obviously. You can see Kermit reclining here to my left here. I'm a Muppet girl through and through. Love the Muppets since the 1970s. They're a very big deal to me. Muppet Christmas Carol is my favorite Christmas Carol. And the only thing I regret is I would have loved to have gone through it more slowly so that I could get all of the little details. I definitely need to do that ride again and again and again so that I can get all the details, but I'm so glad that I did it. It's so well done and just a super fun reimagining. The ride track is exactly the same. I did mention in my vlog, I think they slowed it down a little, and someone said they didn't think that was possible, but I don't think it's my imagination. I think they did slow parts of it down. But yeah, I enjoyed every second of that, and it was an absolute ball. So overall, I would rate this trip for me as someone who needed a solo getaway, who needed to do some brainstorming about their business, who made it kind of a little bit of a work from home type staycation trip. This was exactly what I needed. The summers here in Atlanta can start to feel really long, and having this mid-break of only 4 nights at Walt Disney World really kind of revived me, and I feel like gave me the creativity and the spark that I needed to get through the rest of the summer. And I would do it again in a heartbeat. Again, maybe with a little bit less park time, but I don't think you can go wrong with a wonderful resort like Wilderness Lodge or a wonderful resort like Kidani Village. My other choice, if I was doing a summer trip and I wanted to save on the budget, would be Coronado Springs. I have stayed there in very hot weather before, and if you stay in the tower, which is what I would strongly recommend as opposed to the outer lying buildings, everything you need there is within the building. There's an air-conditioned walkway that will take you to the shops, the food court, the sit-down restaurants. So that's another great option when it's really, really hot in the summer. And if I go next year, I might do my trip at Coronado Springs if I can't justify quite as much money as I did for this trip. But you know, no regrets. I'm very happy with my decision. I didn't even mention that the trip was just a few days before my birthday, so it was also a little bit of a birthday gift to myself. And when you're turning 56, don't you think you deserve a little birthday gift to yourself when you've worked hard your entire life? The answer is yes. Yes, you do. Whatever you're doing today, I hope you're finding joy. As always, huge thanks to my patrons. They are the sponsors of each and every video. They are why I can stay AI free. I don't have to take sponsorships from brands that I don't believe in, and I can continue to bring you guys the best content possible. So they not only have my back, they also have yours. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.